The new year is now well and truly upon us, with many of us already having been back at work for a week at the point of watching this video. The winter break may already be feeling like an eternity ago, and maybe like me, you're already looking forward to your next big holiday. That's not the only thing to be looking forward to though. As we said in our original Games We Can't Wait to Play video, there is a bumper selection of absolutely cracking titles coming out in 2023. In fact, there are so many that you viewers felt we'd left out a few bangers from our 27-strong list. So we've looked over your suggestions in the comments to bring you this list of 10 more games we can't wait to play in 2023. So sit back and get ready to mark your calendars with these upcoming gems. There's plenty to get excited about. First up is a game that is only days away at time of release of this video, so it's one that really snuck up on us. Fire Emblem is one of Nintendo's longest running series, but one that only began appearing outside of Japan during the Game Boy Advance era. Since then, the series has managed to gain popularity around the world, with the first mainline Switch entry, Three Houses, quickly becoming the best-selling game in the entire series. The latest series entry, Fire Emblem Engage, delivers promising first impressions, with a range of improvements over its predecessor. Set on Helios, and if that's not how you pronounce it, unlucky, you play as Aaliyah, and if you don't pronounce it like that, double unlucky. Aaliyah is a divine dragon who spent the last millennium sleeping after defeating the fell dragon Sombron. Ooh. With both sides awake once more, it's a race to recover the 12 Emblem rings. Not Elden rings though, huh? Each housing the spirit of a former hero. Recent previews have made us very excited for Fire Emblem Engage. It borrows some of the elements we loved from Three Houses, but delivers what feels like a more traditional Fire Emblem experience. In a way, it feels like a follow-up to the 3DS games with a fleshed-out feature set. Atomic Heart looks bonkers. Think the world and gameplay of BioShock mixed with the USSR, and you aren't too far from the truth. Set in an alternate Soviet Union of 1955, Atomic Heart is a single-player adventure role-playing action game within a closed world. Try saying that 3 times fast. Single-player adventure role-playing action game within a closed world, single-player role-playing action game within a closed world, single-player role-playing action game within a closed world. Actually, that was pretty good at that. After a global system failure happens at the Soviet facility number 3826, machinery begins to rebel against the people. Playing as Major P3, your task is to eliminate the consequences of a large-scale accident and prevent the leakage of classified information threatening to destroy the entire world. Using the combat abilities granted by P3's experimental power glove, their arsenal of blades and cutting-edge weaponry, Atomic Heart promises explosive combat with frenetic encounters that force you to adapt your fighting style to each opponent. It's a rare single-player shooter without multiplayer, so we hope this does well, if for no other reason than we want to see more of the genre. This could be one of the big sleeper hits of 2023 and has a huge amount of potential. Unfortunately, we don't have to wait that long to see if it lives up to the hype. It's no secret that we're big fans of the Bayonetta series, so when we found out it was getting a prequel, we were more than a little excited. Bayonetta Origins Cereza and the Lost Demon will introduce Cereza long before this trainee of the dark arts would come to be called Bayonetta. Look, I've never played a Bayonetta game before. This bit was written for Zoe, so I've got no idea how to pronounce that name either. The game follows one fateful journey she takes into the forbidden Avalon Forest to look for the power to save Cereza's mother. Alongside her is Cheshire, which is a name I can pronounce, her very first demon, possessing Cereza's stuffed toy. Cereza and the Cheshire Cat are controlled independently, with each on a different Joy-Con, and the whole thing looks so freaking cute, with a childlike visual style that evokes fairy tales of old. If you just can't wait until March for this one, Bayonetta 3 players can access a playable teaser by purchasing the old picture book at Rodin's shop and unlocking it with 3 keys. None of that made any sense to me. What's a Bayonetta? Is it like a cornetto? Originally announced back in 2018, long before Microsoft's acquisition of Bethesda, Starfield was described as a next-generation RPG set in space and Bethesda Game Studios' first new franchise in 25 years. In this next-generation role-playing game set amongst the stars, create any character you want and explore with unparalleled freedom as you embark on an epic journey to answer humanity's greatest mystery. So does this mean we're going to finally find out where belly button fluff comes from? Amazing! As you'd expect from Bethesda, there is a pretty extensive character creator here, and you can also create your own outposts, spaceships, and choose your crew members. Exploration is going to be a pretty big deal in Starfield too. You can land and poke your nose around anywhere on any planet in any system, and there are going to be over 100 systems and over 1,000 planets in the game. It all sounds quite ambitious, but to be honest with you, we're all just hoping that it ships without the usual elements of jank that Bethesda is also well known for. Uh-oh. Redfall, the vampire shooting FPS from Dishonored studio Arcane, was announced at Xbox and Bethesda's E3 showcase in summer 2021, with both single-player and cooperative multiplayer modes and 4 unique survivors to play as. It has remained shrouded in relative secrecy, save for some screenshots leaking online. Continuing Arcane's legacy of carefully crafted worlds and immersive sims, Redfall brings the studio's signature gameplay to this story-driven action shooter. The island town of Redfall, Massachusetts is under siege by a legion of vampires who have blocked out the sun and cut the citizens off from the outside world. Arcane has previously described Redfall as its most ambitious project to date, not least because it'll feature the studio's biggest map yet. Just one section of Redfall's map is larger than the entirety of Prey's Talos 1 space station. S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 Heart of Chornobyl is a next-gen sequel to the award-winning PC game franchise developed by GSC Gameworld, and it's set to deliver a unique action experience of survival in the post-apocalyptic Chernobyl exclusion zone. As with the original, S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 promises one-of-a-kind gameplay, blending elements of first-person shooters, immersive sims, and horror games. Heart of Chornobyl allows you to play a major part in a non-linear story that unfolds in the setting of local post-apocalyptic dark science fiction, with your primary duty being to decide the fate of the exclusion zone. Following Putin's illegal and barbaric invasion of Ukraine, the studio's home, GSC Gameworld, initially put S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2's development on hold, picking it up again once the studio was later relocated to Prague. With this disruption came the push from 2022 to a 2023 release, with the team aiming for S.T.A.L.K.E.R to be available in the first half of the year. Alan Wake is one of many series returning for 2023 that's been missing for around a decade. That's not to say we haven't seen Alan for that long though. Developer Remedy has spent the last few years doing its best to bring Alan Wake back into the public conscience, first in a fairly substantial cameo in the studio's acclaimed supernatural shooter Control, and then in a refreshed remaster for the 2010 game back in 2021. Alan Wake 2 promises to turn up the level of dread as Remedy's first dive into the survival horror genre, so expect a chilling experience with familiar psychological horror elements, though in true Remedy fashion, the horror will be in service to the story rather than to add shock value. Despite missing their promise of releasing more details of the title last summer, Remedy are adamant that it will release in 2023, confirming in their financial results that Alan Wake 2 is in the final production stage, and that while a lot of work remains, it is still on track to release this year. If nothing else, the Emperor is a patient god. It's been 10 years since Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine came out, and we're finally getting a sequel. Space Marine 2 is, like its predecessor, a brutal third-person action shooter stroke melee hybrid in which you play Captain Titus of the Ultramarines, the blue do-gooder chapter of the Space Marines. The setup here is pretty simple. The Tyrannids are devouring worlds, nom nom nom, and it's up to the Ultramarines to stem the tide. Cue some very big battles in which one-man army Titus teaches those terrible Tyrannids a lesson in brutality. Clive Standen, who you may know from roles in Vikings and Taken, plays the lead role of Titus, and Focus boss John Burt has said that Space Marine 2 is the biggest project in Focus's history in terms of investment and ambition, so we here at Eurogamer have high hopes for it. I'm hoping there's at least one orc in there somewhere though, otherwise I'll just have to shout "Space Marine" to myself at regular intervals to truly complete the experience. The original Oxenfree is an evocative, shaggy ghost story about a bunch of teens exploring a spooky island at night. A group of misfits stumble upon some weird paranormal BS, odd radio signals, funny rips in the fabric of reality, and dimensions colliding in sinister ways on a deserted chunk of rock surrounded by dark waters. You know, the usual stuff. And now we get Oxenfree 2, which is an expanded and wonderfully doomy sort of sequel. Will you need to have played the original game to enjoy this? Not at all, but it has the same spirit, a vital word for this kind of experience. All of which means exploration is back. The spooky radio you can tune in as you wander around in the dark is also back. The same plot threads lie about, tempting you to knot them together, and another world intrudes again. There's a new cast too, focusing on Riley and Jacob. Crucially, these characters are older than the teens in the first game, but they're both clearly at a crossroads in their lives. The perfect point for things to get spooky. It's been a decade since Armored Core 5 arrived. 10 years on, Armored Core 6 is now set for launch this year on pretty much every platform possible. With a completely fresh story that requires no knowledge of the events of the previous games, Fires of Rubicon is set on the planet Rubicon 3, which has become the centre of a war over a mysterious substance which caused the planet to burst into flames. I love it when a game's title is so self-explanatory. FromSoft have been making a conscious effort to keep Armored Core away from the now more familiar Soulsborne type gameplay, focusing on the core concept of the Armored Core series. Armored Core 6 will also have an emphasis on mech assembly, customization and piloting, and will have a mission-based structure rather than an open world. Gameplay is intended to be dynamic and intense, just like me, with boss battles being the game's highlight. The studio has also confirmed plans for a multiplayer versus mode too, though the focus for the team currently is the single-player story mode, so this may be something that comes after the main release. So there we have it, 10 more games we can't wait to play in 2023, as suggested by you, the viewers. In total, that gives us a whopping 37 games we're looking forward to in 2023, and there will almost certainly be a few more surprise titles to come. So honestly, I don't know where we're going to find the time to fit them all in. Which game that's releasing this year are you most hyped for? Have we missed anything else that you're looking forward to? As always, let us know in the comments below. Now, do give this video a like if you've enjoyed it, subscribe to Eurogamer for almost daily videos about video games, and of course, thank you so much for watching. Bye!
It would appear that pirates of the Crimson Fleet are using the facility